After an insane year lined with billionaires getting cooked on their own platform and Game of the Year speeches getting crashed in 2022, we have all finally made it into 2023. And with every new year, resolutions are all the rage. Crowding a gym like cattle to get in shape and running 3 to a treadmill, cooking instead of giving into that urge to hit the DoorDash and Uber Eats button. But it seems like the video games industry has set a resolution to blow 2022 out of the water with the slate of content in 2023. The bounce back from COVID's impact on game development may hit even bigger strides this year, with a ton of dope experiences set to hit the public in this 12-month span. But I can't help but notice the overwhelming majority of most anticipated lists and top games for 2023 are filled with the most marketed and biggest games in terms of scope and scale, and there's nothing wrong with that. I could have easily given a TED talk about the excitement and potential for games like Final Fantasy 16, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and more. And I still could if y'all hit the comments and say you want to get into that on the channel. But there's a good chance you knew that or half the internet told you that already. With so many games dropping over the next 12 months, I wanted to switch it up a bit. So we're going to take a little detour from the norm and call out some titles set to drop in 2023 that I believe will be great experiences, but are gaming underdogs relative to this year's volume and slew of releases. For clarity's sake, I define a gaming underdog as a title not cast in the limelight, something that lies under the radar until people are quick to realize how much of a dope experience it actually is. Think of games like Cult of the Lamb, It Takes Two, Hades, Hollow Knight, and even Stray. Releases that didn't have the biggest fanfare or weren't the big dogs to watch that year in the lead up to their releases, but wowed players, solidified their quality, and even won some awards in the process. They can come from anywhere, but when you get your hands on a gem in that category, you can't help but root for it and show it some love in a time likely packed with huge AAA games dropping all around it. The Unmentioned, the Underhyped, the Underdog. That's who I want to show love to today. Now a few disclaimers. These games have been prospectively marked as coming in 2023, so we're being optimistic that they will come out in that time. But if they get delayed or drop to 2024 and beyond, or you don't think that they'll drop this year, please do not come into the comment section with the "this video is inaccurate, what happened to such and such, this video is false advertising." Shut up with all that, bro. I don't want to hear it. At the time of this recording, the second half of the year is a literal blank slate and we have no clue what's happening. So let's just go off vibes right now and be positive. And that goes with my personal underdog criteria as well. Okay, now that that's taken care of, let's get into the picks. First off, we got Skull and... Alright, I'm kidding. It's not for me, but I wish it all the best. It's not that. Let's get this list started off right and talk about the last case of Benedict Fox. I will be real with you. The Metroidvania 2D side-scroller genre has been held down with some good stuff over the years. With Hollow Knight, both Ori and the Blind Forest and its sequel, Dead Cells, Bloodstained, and Metroid Dread in the past few years, fans of the subcategory have been eating with extra plates on their laps, and the last case of Benedict Fox is trying to add some more to the feast. The story of the game centers on the titular character Benedict, who is a self-proclaimed detective, looking to solve the case of a family that throws him into intense encounters with an occult order and fights with his demons in a Lovecraftian shade of style. And no, not like a Rod Wave fighting my demons type beat, Benedict literally has a demon inside of him that he has to deal with on top of the many others that he has to throw hands with across the game. If it's any consolation, Benedict can use the demon alongside him to gain access to special powers and combine them with other tools to traverse the environment as well as execute some cool combos on the enemies that stand in his way. Speaking of environments, the game is looking to warp the world around you as you can travel back and forth from the real world into limbo, a realm within the consciousness of a deceased person which will shift and become more dangerous as Benedict gets closer to the truth of the story. Now you might lose your mind, but at least you can lose it looking at some dope visuals. Holy water may be needed on hand to play the last case of Benedict Fox, but it looks like this game could have everything it needs to be a hit for spring 2023. I don't know about y'all, but I'm prepping my TD Jake's voice now for the demons that are sleeping on me when this drops.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!
Next up on this list is a game that's been steadily interesting me since it first hit the internet. Flintlock The Siege Dawn is an action RPG leaning a little bit into the Soulsborne lane. The plot centers around protagonist Nor Vanek, an explosives expert in the Coalition army, and Enki, a magical creature that teams up with Nor to vanquish the old gods and undead that came from the door to the great below. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the movement or lack thereof in Soulsborne games, so having that ability to glide, jump, dodge, and execute every move in the cha-cha slide puts me at ease when enemies aren't the most forgiving. The gameplay flow looks solid, execution seems smooth, and I'm digging the aesthetics of the characters and the environments in the City of Dawn on top of everything. If executed correctly, this could be a happy medium between a God of War Ragnarok and a more traditional Soulsborne game, which is a decent place to be. Also throw in some of the guns Nora can use and me reenacting that one Indiana Jones scene on the Undead, and I believe I got what I need to have plenty of fun with Flintlock. As we all know, first impressions are key to how people will forever perceive and judge their level of engagement with something, especially when it comes to games. And I can tell you from my personal perspective that Replaced made as good a first impression as you possibly can make. Replaced is an action platformer that puts you in the shoes of an AI named Reach, going full Chappie mode and ending up in a human body, adjusting to life in the gritty dystopian sci-fi world of Phoenix City. I'll be honest, I wasn't the most in tune with 2 and 2.5D platformers over the past few years, but this game might be the gateway to get me right back in step with the genre. The Blade Runner / cyberpunk style composition and media will always pique my interest, and it is no different with this game. And it looks like there's a good flow to the combat loop and platforming spread across the world. It's shaping up to be a really cool game, and one that will be heading to Xbox Game Pass, so adding that little bang for your buck will never not make me happy. The only thing left is for Sad Cat Studios to lock in a specific release date this year, or they will risk me moving like Ryan Gosling in Blade Runner until it is confirmed. To round out the list, it's time to talk about The Plucky Squire. The Plucky Squire is an action-adventure title from the good people at All Possible Futures and Devolver Digital, highlighting the magical adventures of Jot and his gang of storybook friends. At some point, they discover the 3D world outside the pages of their book, and when the game's antagonist Humgrump learns about his eventual fate as the bad guy in a kid's story, he casts Jot out of their book in an attempt to change their tale forever. I got my first glimpse of this game when it was revealed last summer, and I was smitten. And yes, I mean smitten like Jim Carrey in The Mask. I couldn't help but lean in more as that first trailer went on. It looks like a genuine homage to a gamut of classics like The Legend of Zelda and Punch-Out!, then takes things quite literally to a different plane with this jump into 3D spaces. Throw all the fun-looking gameplay on top of a vibrant array of colors assorted in this world, and you might have an absolute gem on your hands. If I had to fight several people in succession to make this game come out faster, I'd knuckle up faster than Baki trying to shoot the Pharaoh with his father. Long story short, I can't wait to experience Jot's story and ride with him in 2D and in 3D. And those are my picks for gaming underdogs of 2023. Make sure you let me know what you thought of the list and any underdogs I missed for this year, because I know there are a ton I have not mentioned today. It's gonna be a great year for games, y'all. So make sure you're keeping an eye out for all the new experiences you can have fun with. And speaking of new, if you're new here, be sure to hit that sub button, the like button, and the notification bell to stay in tune with all the new videos coming to the channel you guys don't want to miss. That's all I got for this one, but don't trip. We'll see you in the next one.